What is crack-a-lackin', fellow thermonuclear AFers? I am Dan Favalli, coming at you with my certified fantabulous co-host, Mr. Grant Hughes. We are on to the Central Division to wrap up the Eastern Conference in our off-season grades series. As a reminder, before we plead with you to subscribe to us everywhere, a C is average and not a bad grade. So please do not get mad if your team ends up with a C. And though, back to the task at hand, remember to subscribe to us if you haven't already. Hit sub, like every video on YouTube, comment, help the algorithm love us back. Go on Apple, Spotify, hit that subscribe button, leave ratings and reviews. Those help us climb up the charts a little bit. And we would ask, if you've done all those things, recommend us, share an episode, word of mouth. That can help the popularity of the show travel upward. Follow us on all the socials at HardwoodKnocks on TikTok and Twitter, at Hardwood_Knocks on Instagram. I am posting fewer unique videos there while we're in the off season, and because they take so long, but we're still trying to do about 3 a week. So it's worth following us there and join our Discord. The link to that is in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. And finally, if you want to support the show, we would encourage you to go buy our merch. Our TeePublic store link is in the podcast and YouTube description. Send us screenshots in Discord or post them on Twitter or whatever when you get your stuff. It's always fun to see those pop up. Grant, how the heck are you doing?
I'm getting kind of hungry, Dan. But how are you doing?
You were eating when we started recording.
That was like an hour and a half ago. I got to feed the machine.
Wow. Okay. Is that like a Jersey Shore reference? I'm pretty sure.
Probably. I don't know. Didn't feel good saying it. I'll tell you that.
Do you want to? I appreciate you being the one to lead us through the transaction since I could barely talk at the moment. Sure. I'm still highly congested and not feeling great. Do you want to start us off with your Chicago Bulls?
Why do they got to be mine? All right, I'll take them. I'll take the Chicago Bulls. So they did a lot. They signed some basketball players, many of whom were already on the team. The first of which, in terms of significance, Nikola Vucevic is back. 3 years, $60 million extension. Kobe White also back, 3 years and 36. Ayo Dosunmu back, 3 years and 21. Signed Javon Carter, 3 years, $19.5 million. They're cornering the market on defense first guards with Alex Caruso already on the team. Got Torrey Craig for the minimum. Lost another defense first guard in Patrick Beverley, so I had to replace him. And Javonte Green and Derrick Jones Jr. I think remains unsigned. You can correct me if that is the case or is not the case. Did I miss anything of consequence?
DJJ opted in, I believe. No, he's unsigned. You're right. Unsigned. That was last year. You are correct.
That's pretty much it. So a lot of action in terms of money spent and players acquired / retained. Are the Chicago Bulls better? Does it matter? How do you feel about what they did this offseason?
Well, they're the perfect team to talk about how much do you penalize a team that's not acting in a way that you would. Would you control them? It's not a matter of what moves did they miss out on. It's a matter of the path not yet traveled, which would be to tear it down. Because I think every single move they made, the Vooch deal, I still don't love it, but it's like that. Everyone seemed to think that was a fine number. I did see when it was first reported, I thought it said 3 years and $80 million. Mm-hmm. And so my response to it was just so inflammatory. I love the Javon Carter deal. I think that's a great fit. I think they made Kobe White had a good season last year. Ayo Dosunmu, I can't believe no one else wanted to even take a look at him. I thought they got good value there. One of the things I'm questioning though, I know nothing about him, so I didn't judge this too harshly, but why was number 35 Julian Phillips worth second rounders in 26 and 27? Feels like a very, are the Bulls really going to be that good then? That felt like a little steeper price to pay. I don't know what to give this team. Is there a move that they made? Not that they didn't make. Is there a move that they made that you actively dislike?
I'd say the Vucevic deal comes the closest to that. But that is going to tie into the, what's the bigger plan here kind of line of criticism than the years and dollars for this particular player. It's kind of, he's probably worth that, right? In a vacuum. I think he's definitely worth that in a vacuum. He's a good player, good offensive player. Somehow the Bulls have had good defensive numbers. That's probably because Alex Caruso is involved with Vucevic out there. So it's that's the closest I can get to, that's just objectively a bad move, right? And I don't even think I would, if pressed, would say that that's just, that's bad. You probably can't trade him for value at that number, so that isn't great. But it ties in more to the first thing you led with, which was how closely did the Bulls moves adhere to what I would have done if I were in charge of the team? And in that sense, they're way off. But a lot of that is just it's got to do with like the team that they've built over the last 3-4 years. It's just they're in a situation that I wouldn't want to get into because they're just in the middle, and everything they did this, I think you look at all those signings and it's like, yeah, they might be better. They could be better this year, significantly even maybe, but it's still middle-ish to me. And so I'll just say it's a D+. And that's with saying that if you go down the line, like itemize their transactions, there's nothing that makes you say, oh my God, this is horrible. Like they've ruined the team. It's just the team is going to be roughly what it was last year and the year before. And that's not a place I'm interested in being if I can get myself out of that.
I went with the C- in part because not that they didn't tear it down, but if you were going to go this route, you still didn't address your biggest needs, which I guess their biggest need was we want to avoid the tax, which they did. Congratulations to them. But like you needed shooting volume, maybe another point guard in here. Could you diversify your front court rotation at all? They checked none of those boxes just because I think Javon Carter comes closest, but he's not extra ball handling really. He will give you some extra shooting, but like Torrey Craig is not that guy. And he does. And again, I like the signing, but like they should have been a team, and they couldn't have been because they weren't willing to spend that money. They should have been in on like the Max Strus sweepstakes. He would have done a lot of wonders for them. And so if you want to be a team that's better, go ahead and act like a team that's better. Stop penny pinching just to avoid the tax. And so, yes, they made reasonable signings that we can all like in a vacuum, but I don't know that they're much better. And look, much better than a play-in team is not something to write home about either. Yeah. And I think it's close to an average offseason because nothing they did was below average. But for them to decide that we're not going to start over or more realistically explore a rebuild and then not be aggressive in trying to get better is just like, that's a miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think if you start to think about the counterfactual, it's like, well, if they're going to do what we want them to do, what was the market for DeMar DeRozan? What was the market for Zach LaVine? And it's possible that they could have traded those guys and we would be just as critical because they didn't get enough for them in our opinions. But
or it could have been the Wizards route of, oh, we're excited that they finally chose a direction outside of the sub-middle.
I think that's more likely. Had they just gutted the team and got what they could get for their expensive veterans, I think I probably would have had a higher grade. Almost, unless they just I'm trying to think of a situation where you trade Zach LaVine and just like get nothing, which that's not realistic because you get something for him. You're
going to end up getting at least the equivalent of 3 first-round picks for Zach LaVine.
I would have felt better had they done that. But, if you're interested in being 500 or maybe a little better than that, then this is the team for you. Like,
what are the odds that they use their disabled player exception they got from Lonzo? Less than 0?
I was going to say, can I go like into negative numbers? Is that allowed? No, they're not going to do it.
I will take us to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I assume their offseason is going to be more upbeat. They drafted Emily Bates and signed him to a 2-way contract. They signed George Niang to a 3-year, $25.5 million deal that declines in salary. They acquired Max Strus on a 4-year, $64 million deal for the Lakers' 2026 second-round pick. They signed Isaiah Mobley and Craig Porter Jr. to 2-way contracts. They re-signed Caris LeVert to a 2-year, $32 million deal. They signed Ty Jerome to a 2-year, $5 million deal that's fully guaranteed. They traded cash to Utah for Damian Jones. And as another note here, Ricky Rubio is taking time away from basketball to work on his mental health. It's not clear whether he will be with the team when training camp opens. Did I miss anything? Where do you land on this offseason, Grant?
You got everything that I had, plus Damian Jones, who I glossed over. Did you mention some of the losses? Not nothing huge, but Robin Lopez, Dylan Windler, Danny Green, or Lopez and Windler gone. Danny Green and Neto remain unsigned. Not needle movers. I love their offseason. I think they did, I guess if you're going to be critical, it's, well, Max Strus, like, is he exactly what they needed? Is he big enough? Is he good enough defensively to fill that like glaring void at the 3 that just was such a piece of why the Cavs underwhelmed in the playoffs? I think he's about as good as they could have done realistically. Yeah. So like, if we're going to try to be fair about, what did a team do relative to what it was capable of doing, I think Strus is really like, just barring like pie in the sky stuff. That's as good as you're going to do to fill that void. Not perfect, but hard to quibble with that.
You weren't going to get someone who defends like Isaac Okoro, but shoots like Max Strus.
Right.
First of all, that player wasn't on the market this summer anyway, but like, you weren't going to get that with having the tools you did to work with.
Yeah. And just thinking of comps, like there aren't even really any good comps, but just in terms of like what guys got paid, Cam Johnson, we talk all the time. He's not quite a 3. But like he got, 4 years and 90. Like you couldn't have gotten a guy like that for the with the tools that the Cavs had. I don't love Levert, but it's a short deal, 2 years, $32 million is fine. Like that's
tradable.
Great for 6th, 7th guy, maybe that can run the team if, one of or both Garland and Mitchell are out. Niang 3 for 25 seems a little rich, but that's just more shooting. And if you're going to play 2 bigs and Evan Mobley doesn't develop a 3-point shot as quickly as some would prefer, like I think Niang is going to bring real value, and the good backline defense is going to mitigate some of his struggles to stay in front of guys on the perimeter. So there's the theory of him on the team works. It's just a little costly. So I have this down as a B+, but I think I need to go to an A-. But I'm hesitant because I have so many high grades in this division that I don't want to do it. But to be fair to the Cavs, this feels more like an A range grade than a B range grade to me.
I went B+, just because the George Niang signing makes me a little uncomfortable in the sense that, are we going to see him play some 3? And then he's not someone who rebounds well enough to make the Mobley at 5 units that much better there. And I think you can look at, okay, well, what else were they supposed to do with that money? I just would you be better off without George Niang in general? So I don't like it's more shooting, like you said, and there's real volume there. Both him and Max Strus, I think, average about 9+ attempts per 36 minutes from deep. They totally needed that. I do think Niang is probably not someone who's in your playoff rotation, at least not anywhere near prominently. And so to give him 3 guaranteed years for, quite a bit of money, it's not, it's not nothing in the grand scheme of the cap, but you're not paying him nothing at this point. You gave him most of the non-taxpayer MLE. So I'm just trying to poke holes, and I don't think there's anything out there that they necessarily could have done better, but you probably could have gotten another like biggish type and just sort of plug that hole and move forward for cheaper. And so that's like the one demerit I have for them, but a B+ a very strong grade for them. I think Max Strus is a fantastic fit.
Yeah. Let's see. Do I have the Pistons or do you, as we move on?
You have the Pistons.
All right. Happy, Dan. Really happy to have the Pistons. One of my favorite off seasons. Drafted Ausar Thompson at number 5. But before that, hired Monty Williams to the richest head coaching contract in NBA history. That is a huge deal. I would love to know the mechanics. I think there's been some reporting on it, but it's like, he was never going to say no to that amount of money.
The reporting was basically he tried to say no.
He did.
And they made it so that he couldn't.
But credit the Pistons for there's not, there's all these salary constraints, and all we've spent the last several months talking about is how the CBA makes it harder to build a good team and keep it together. It's like, you can spend whatever you want on a coach. So do it, because especially for a team like the Pistons, that's a ton of young guys that wants to be good, that is operated kind of weirdly at times as a team that's like, well, we're going to keep Bojan Bogdanovic and we're going to extend him because he's valuable and he's going to make us bet. Like, this is the move. So Monty, I have no problem with paying Monty Williams as much as you possibly can. Brought in Joe Harris, brought in Monte Morris with seconds attached to Harris, and all it cost was a future second to get Morris. Signed Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, 4 years, $60 million, could go up to 64. I think there's a team option on the last year of that, which is awesome. I'll throw it to you, but I struggle to find fault with almost anything that the Pistons did.
Waiving RJ Hampton was unforgivable. So this is not a real demerit for me, but they gave up like kind of a lot to just get Marcus Sasser at, what was that, number 25 or 27? It was just, they gave up number 31 in 2 seconds. I guess it's not like a huge deal. So that's just something to monitor. But I love everything they did. And anyone who says that them turning their cap space basically into Joe Harris and Monte Morris is a failure, it's not, because who are they supposed to get? If they wanted Cam Johnson, guess what? The Nets weren't letting him leave. So it's not like they allowed the Nets to keep Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson would just never leave in Brooklyn. That's how restricted free agency works. I like the idea of rolling over their flexibility into next summer. I love the Ausar Thompson pick. I think you could argue, well, he was the only pick on the board. It was, when you look at the makeup of this team, they might have decided, oh, do we trade down? Do we go with someone who might provide a little bit more spacing right off the bat? I'm a big believer in Ausar Thompson as a defender, and I think, I don't know what he's going to be as a shooter, but I have more faith, and I've said it countless times, on his jumper than Ahmed Thompson's jumper. I think that the speed is at least there. Can they make some tweaks to the form and the release point? We'll have to wait and see. But I loved everything about their offseason. And I think, look, the beef stew extension is fine. He is not, when you talk about how sort of topsy-turvy they are up front, he's not really a part of that because he comes closest to allowing them to make dual big lineups work, where it's, he can step out and take the occasional three. And 4 and 60 is just, it sounds like a lot, but with the cap going up, it's just, what is it, 10% of the cap at one point is what it's going to be, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think he's a hustle enough player when you look at him on defense specifically that I think it ends up being good for you. I will say, I hope that you don't go out and get Joe Harris, Monte Morris, keep Bojan Bogdanovic, and Alec Burks if you don't intend on we're going to try and surround Cade Cunningham and or Ausar Thompson and or Jaden Ivey with as much shooting as possible to where, one, throw the dual big stuff out the window. And like, we're going to see Bojan Bogdanovic play the 4. Maybe Joe Harris play some 4. And then we're going to see some staggered lineups where it's, hey, it's Jalen Duren and it's Cade Cunningham and all shooting. Or it's maybe it's Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart, and then still all shooting around them. And then mix and match with Ausar Thompson there, where it's, if you want to have Thompson and Ivy and Cade Cunningham, you want 2 of them on the court at the same time, well, then your big man's going to be, we're going to experiment with Isaiah Stewart at the 5 and then a whole bunch of shooters. So I hope that's what this spells. I know a lot of people are still assuming that they're just going to start. They were starting James Wiseman and Jalen Duren by the end of the year. I hope that's not what we see. That has nothing to do with their offseason. And it's, you could say, they should have traded Bojan Bogdanovic. You get the same amount for him leading into February as you would have gotten for him in July. Yeah. So I think they're A offseason. Their offseason was an A. I just struggle to go A+ because I don't know enough about Marcus Sasser, but I haven't seen anything that makes me think, that's a move that you definitely needed to make. I know you're like giggling.
I just want to write down, remember to monitor Marcus Sasser because you made it a real. No, look, it's like, that's what you have to do when you're looking for reasons to criticize this offseason for them. I don't think I gave any A+. I gave the Pistons a flat A. Probably would be my A+ if I were to give one.
Right. Did they have the, we don't want to spoil the Western Conference here, but did they have like the best offseason of anybody? They might have.
I think they're certainly in the conversation. I haven't looked hard enough at the West yet to know, but I think of the East. We probably shouldn't. Actually, the next team we're going to talk about is kind of, to me, like you could have a conversation about whether they had just as good of an offseason. So maybe we should. Let's get to the Indiana Pacers.
Are they mine?
I think so.
Oh, they're mine. So the Indiana Pacers traded number 8 Bilal Coulibaly to Washington for number 9 Jarace Walker and Sacramento's 2030 second rounder. They drafted Ben Shepherd at number 26. They were part of like the Denver Nuggets whole shenanigans. They traded number 29 and number 32 for number 47 cash and a 2024 first. It's going to be the least favorable of OKC, the Clippers, Houston, or Utah. They traded Chris Duarte to the Kings for Dallas's 2028 second and Sacramento's 2030 second. That's how they helped complete the Bilal Coulibaly deal. And then they signed Bruce Brown to a 2-year, $45 million contract with a team option on the final season. And they traded 2 least favorable second-round picks in 28 and 29 to New York for Obi Toppin. Other notes that are just worth considering because it might show where they view themselves. They have been linked to the Pascal Siakam trade sweepstakes.
Max Tyrese Haliburton. I don't know if you mentioned that one.
I did not. Wow, good call.
That was another. That was my only big item. Feel really good about this offseason. It's not quite as like, the hits don't just keep coming quite like they did for Detroit before them, but like the big stuff. I think I probably like Jarace Walker a little more than you do. Or at least
you like him more than Taylor Hendricks.
Ooh. I know you don't like anyone more than Taylor Hendricks, so I feel like that's an unfair comparison. Yeah, that's fair. I guess I think I like the fit. I like Jarace Walker. Again, don't draft for fit. Don't draft for fit. And here I am like saying, he makes sense next to Miles Turner. So yeah, as always, I don't ever know what I'm talking about. The Bruce Brown deal, one of the best deals signed this offseason. Just, it seems like a lot of money up front just on an annual basis, but it's like you get the team option on that. And it's just like,
and if you need to make a trade, it's just like you just have this monster expiring contract there of a player like in the same vein of Buddy Hield. He's really useful.
Universal appeal for like Bruce Brown. Find me the team where they're like, I don't know what we would do with Bruce Brown. Like it doesn't exist.
Well, Atlanta is definitely the team.
I don't know. start him at the 3, figure it out. I think Toppin, now we can't talk about fit because he's not a rookie. I think Toppin makes a lot of sense with just the style they want to play. Like just run, just go get up and down the floor, and Tyrese Haliburton's going to find you. I think, this we've criticized a lot of teams for sort of like, what's the plan? Like, what's the plan here? Like, how do you want to play? What are your goals, like standings wise? The Pacers really feel like a team that understands what they are and like how they want to play, what they want to do. So for me, I gave him an A-. I guess maybe that's a nod to Walker. Could have been somebody else, could have been Hendricks, but I mean, it's so early. I don't know. I think just getting Haliburton, getting Brown to that deal.
And if I'm not mistaken, there was no player option on the Haliburton deal, right?
I don't think so. Even if there were, like, I mean, yeah, it just,
no, I mean, that's like that's
a
sign
win
into that contract no matter what. But if Spotrac's not showing a player option. So if you don't get that's a net plus. Where it's you give Tyrese Haliburton that deal regardless. But if there's no player option, that's an even bigger win.
Yeah, no, that's all I got on them. I mean, they're up there with the Pistons, I think, certainly in this division.
I gave them an A- because I really do believe they missed on Taylor Hendricks. And that'll be something that, okay, if they didn't, they should have gotten an A, or like you could quibble over that. And Caitlin Cooper has done at least 2 fantastic breakdowns on Jarace Walker, one leading into the draft and then one that was during Summer League. And the defensive pressure that he gives you, and then even just malleability, I totally understand it. I don't know that Taylor Hendricks would have given you much fewer options defensively, and it would have come with, I think, a cleaner offensive fit. Where it's just like now you're continuously having these other, if you want to call them bigs or forwards next to Miles Turner, where unless they're undersized, they're just not like Obi Toppin's not a plus shooter right now. And like, if you want to play Jalen Smith, that's not a plus shooter. If you even figure that Isaiah Jackson needs to factor into this, that's not someone who's going to be in that department. So I really thought that I also think that Hendricks long-term, because of his rim protection, might be better equipped to play the 5. And that's just, we don't know enough about them. People have followed those guys for way longer than I have, so they can disagree there. That's just why I went to an A-. There's literally nothing else. I might even be inclined to go with A because of you don't have a player option on Tyrese. Like, you can just have Tyrese Haliburton now for the next 6 years, which gives you, if we're being honest, 5 years before you would need to make any sort of real decision on, okay, where are we? And I think what they also did was nice. Not only are they rolling over flexibility in the next season, but like their timeline's very open-ended, where it's we could be good, and then maybe that's when we go and make the Pascal Siakam trade if he's still available mid-season, or we make another trade. Or like, okay, this is another year, but there's a real theory to what we're doing. Fans are still going to tune in, and maybe we'll be fringe playing again, and we're going to have another high draft pick. There's a lot of different directions they could travel. They did not limit themselves in any way, shape, or form with anything they did this offseason.
Yeah, I think they're interesting because, it feels like they're a young team, which is just, I guess, because of Haliburton's age. But like, Haliburton's really good now. Haliburton is an all-star player today. And Benedict Mathurin has limitations, but like the things he does well right now. And unless you think, we're waiting for him to become like an all fringe all-star starter, like I don't think that's in the cards for Mathurin. I think Mathurin is like a stick of dynamite 6-man scorer, and he's that now. I mean, he trailed off, but like you get the point. And like Turner,
he needs to improve his passing for sure. Yeah. I think you mentioned Mathurin, which makes me think of this. I applaud the Pacers for they were, and they will continue to be very, I'll say, creative or innovative with their lineups. But like the still absence of true sized wing players here, where it's, okay, you're going to see Bruce Brown and Buddy Hield and Mathurin. Like a lot of those guys play the 3 and Nembhard defending 4s. It's just like, aside from Aaron Nesmith, who is the other just wing on this team? It's not even, is Ben Shepherd that guy? How tall is it?
Probably Walker. You probably just have Walker guard everybody, right? Is that the theory?
Right, I guess. So that's a question, but I don't know what, like, you weren't going to get a better quote unquote wing than Bruce Brown on the free agent market. So it's just a question.
That's the point I'm making, is like, it seems like a young team. So maybe like, well, what's Bruce Brown doing here? And like, what are we bringing veterans on? It's like, no, the Pacers could just compete for a playoff spot now. And then when Bruce Brown is gone, whether they trade him or they keep him for the 2 years, Tyrese Haliburton's like 25 and a half years old by then, and you're still just, you're ready to continue competing. So
they certainly have a case for best offseason in the NBA for sure.
Yeah. The last team we have is the Milwaukee Bucks in this division. Start with the big stuff. Fired Mike Budenholzer. Sort of controversial, I guess, but at the same time, is this one of those where we say like it's Kevin Durant's shoe size determined, bought Mike Budenholzer like 2 more years? Like, do we need to trot that out?
I mean, I wasn't a fan of the firing, but I don't know enough about Adrian. And you're going to get to they hired Adrian Griffin,
right? We know less about Adrian Griffin, so I mean that's the other issue. But it's one of those things that kind of felt like, you get it, right? It felt like it was time. There'd been enough whispers, and you got to, if you're going to change something, you can't change the team. You got to change the coach. I get it. It's unfortunate. It may not be an upgrade. We'll see. Brought back Khris Middleton, 3 years, 93 with a player option. Re-signed Brook Lopez, 2 years, 48. Seemed like
Brook Lopez. He came to Milwaukee. He was on basically the fringes of the entire NBA. He was coming. Didn't he sign for the biannual when he went to Milwaukee?
Well, it was just like, I mean, go back farther than that. I mean, just, the Lakers were kind of like, we don't, you
could leave. Bye.
Basically. Yeah. And then he's, is in the defensive player of the year running every year after that and shoots threes and is great. Those were huge deals. We'll talk about them more, I'm sure, but like those were not givens either. I don't think, especially in the case of Lopez, who seems like he almost
Rockets would argue that he was a member of Houston.
Right. Right. So this could have gone way worse. It didn't. So I don't know how you factor that into a grade, but we'll do our best. Jay Crowder, Malik Beasley, Robin Lopez, and AJ Green are all aboard via minimums. Joe Ingles gone, Javon Carter gone, Wes Matthews gone. I think that's pretty much it. I didn't hit on any of the draft stuff because Chris Livingston at number 58, who interestingly they signed to a 4-year deal. That's kind of fun. We're seeing more of those for second rounders. Andre Jackson comes aboard for a 2030 second round pick. He was number 36. And shock of all shocks, Thanasis Antetokounmpo is back. He will return and not go sign with a team that is trying to poach Giannis in a couple years. Did I miss anything there?
I don't think so. I still can't believe they got both Jay Crowder and Malik Beasley on 1-year minimums that aren't even 1+1s. So the team's going to be reimbursed for like to offset the difference of the salary, because when you add the player option, you have to pay out the full boat of it, which is why Matt Ishbia received so much credit for what he did at Phoenix. So that's a win from the team perspective. And, the player option only does the player a solid. Like, it's not doing the team, because if they're good, they're going to decline it anyway. Those are two players that could really, I would argue, those are two players that could technically still be a part of their closing five. I know people pencil in Grayson Allen, maybe Pat Connaughton into that spot. It probably could more likely to be, I would say, Malik Beasley than a Jay Crowder, just because Jay Crowder at the 3 is a little, or at the 2 rather, is a little weird.
Yeah.
But Malik Beasley comes in, that is pure 3-point volume. They're clearly, I don't know enough about Chris Livingston, but they're clearly very high on him. Mm-hmm. And I like what they did. Again, I wasn't a fan of the Budenholzer firing, but I like that they're very clearly on this like 2 to 3 year timeline where Khris Middleton and Giannis come off the books right now at the same time. Brook Lopez comes off the year before. Drew Holiday comes off the year before. He has that player option. Bobby Portis comes off the same year as Giannis and Khris Middleton. Ditto for Pat Connaughton. And so they're now, it's not, I don't want to say it's fluid, but like everyone in place is on like this same timeline. And so you use the information that you have from season by season to figure out what you need to do. And I think some people will try and focus on the absence of what he's eligible, that Giannis won't sign an extension. It just makes sense for him to wait so he can tack on more years as we move forward. I thought, given what limited tools they had, aside from the coaching change, which I just don't think is a guaranteed to be a home run, I think it helps that Giannis wanted him. This might be in the running for maybe not the best offseason in the NBA, but like, was it the most under the radar good offseason in the NBA?
It feels like the biggest exhale, like the biggest relieved exhale offseason for sure. Because again, like Lopez was kind of gone. And then it's a little bit hyperbolic, but like, if you believe the Bucks are a top tier title threat, I think without Brook Lopez, they're just not. So like that just, oh, thank God. Like, so we got at least another year, probably 2. I mean, Lopez's age is a real factor, but like you got another year or 2 where we're right back up there. I would expect the Bucks to win more games than anyone in the East in the regular season, just like they did last year. And so I gave him a B+. I don't think I said that. And the only reason it's not an A is because I really don't know about the coaching thing. And like, I don't think I factored that in as heavily for a lot of other coaching changes. But what we do know is that Budenholzer has coached a team to a title and has presided over really exceptional regular seasons and has figured out how to make this team work during the year so it can secure that high seed. And then the playoff record is not, it just, that's why he's not back. Like that's it. There's no guarantee Adrian Griffin is going to be any better at that sort of stuff. So that's the only reason. And the stakes are so high because this is title or nothing for this team.
Yeah.
And you've got a guy that may or may not be an upgrade. And that uncertainty, and then it's not a little unfair because it's like, well, who should they have brought in that would have definitely been an upgrade? I don't know who that is, but I'm just not sure.
For you, Greg Popovich,
Popovich would have done it. Well, I don't know. Okay. He slipped. Everyone likes to say, but yeah. So it's a B+. You could definitely talk me higher, but that's.
I'm going to try to. Okay. I gave him an A, and that's while not having enough confidence in the coaching change because one, as I mentioned at the top, going with the guy that Giannis Antetokounmpo wants is valuable. And you at least know what you have in Budenholzer. And that was the only way for you to meaningfully improve your team was to make the coaching change. And so the fact that you had, I don't want to say the courage, but the gall to do it. And then also, I don't think Middleton's deal, he's making less, so it was a given. That Lopez deal was not a given for them to pay.
And they had to come over the top, right? Presumably. They had to just say, well, we were ready to spend X, but now it's going to have to be Y. Let's do it. And a lot of teams wouldn't do that.
Right. And I won't applaud ownership for it, but like you kept this core together. You did. The other thing that I think that's really important is aside from the coaching change, which again, some people would have made it after not just this past offseason, but the one before that. So it was a move that other people would have made. And we don't know enough about Adrian Griffin as a head coach. That's the other thing. I'm not going to pretend to be a whiz. If it was someone who I firmly believe should have kept their job in Mike Budenholzer, the timing was awful, by the way. The way it trickled out that his brother had passed away. I hope the family's doing okay. The optics on that were just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But so you pay those contracts, but you didn't overreact to what happened against the Heat. Giannis dealt with a back injury. Middleton was not himself defensively for pretty much all of last year. He eventually turned a corner offensively. And just like the Heat caught lightning in a bottle with some of their shooting. It's like it just felt like a singularity what happened. If Giannis doesn't miss time in that series and if he's fully healthy, I'm picking the Bucks again without any regrets. So the fact that you kept this core together where I feel like Zach Lowe has said this and it feels on the money of the really good, really great teams, whenever something goes wrong in Milwaukee, like something basic, like an early playoff exit or an injury, it feels like the sky is falling where it doesn't always feel like that for everyone else. And so the Bucks could have I don't think they didn't have these other options, but they certainly could have looked at and said, well, we need to make like an impulsive trade, or we're certainly not going to pay Brook Lopez. And the fact that they didn't, and the fact that again, Jay Crowder, Malik Beasley, two of the 5 to 7 best minimum flyers, I would think in the league, maybe 2 of the best 10 because Phoenix has a shit ton of them. I thought they had a great offseason relative to the strictures within which they were working.
Yeah, I think I would agree. And I think I'm going to talk this up like I had the higher grade for them, but you actually did. Like you talk about options and they didn't have alternatives. Like they had to get Middleton right and they had to get Lopez right and they had to nail multiple minimum signings. And they just because if Middleton leaves, he just leaves. And if Lopez leaves, he just leaves. And you're just significantly worse in the most meaningful way because you go from contender to not. So I think because they were kind of walking the tightrope with no net and managed to make it across, I think that probably, that the degree of difficulty or sort of the stakes of failure were very different for the Bucks than they were for a lot of other teams.
It will be interesting to see whether they are open to putting their 2029 or 2031 on the table for this group in the middle. Like if a Bogdanovich becomes available or something, someone like that makes a lot of sense for them, or even a Bojan if they can get to the salary number, because that's still what's sort of unsettled here is okay, you have this timeline. How much are you willing to continue investing in it?
Right. I mean, it's still just Giannis. Giannis just is the timeline. So I wonder if you think he's going to re-sign for the max and just be around for 5 more years after this deal is done, you just keep punting on those draft picks, right? That's the only way to do it. That's going to do it though, I think, for this division. Do you have anything else to add or shall I take us out?
Nope. Take us out.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe, rate, review wherever you consume your podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe there. Please leave comments. Join our Discord. Follow us on our socials at HardwoodKnocks on Twitter and TikTok, Hardwood_Knocks on Instagram. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, buy our merch. We have links there in the YouTube description and the podcast description. Give us 5 stars wherever you can do that. And just say good things. Think good thoughts. How about that? We never say that. Just think good thoughts about us and the success of the podcast. That would be cool of you. And as usual, we close with a shout out to the one and only Frank Ntilikina, newly reemployed, and an apology to Jared Allen.